Hey everyone, what's going on? Hope y'all didn't miss us too much. It is the Daily Toreador preseason preview of the 2012 football season. As always, our special guest, Joshua Cook, and he's adding on to his resume. Not only is he the managing editor for RaiderPower.com, he is now also the sports director of KTXT, doing play-by-play for soccer as well as volleyball. So Josh, tell me, how's it going?
Man, I don't know how I fit in time for this anymore, but
overachiever.
it takes a lot of time on my schedule, but I fit it in. I do come out and fit y'all into my very busy schedule every year.
We're so fortunate to have you on the set and fit you in anytime, any day, sir. All right, well, moving on, we are going to head right into this. Now, let's look at the stats. We have 9 starters on both sides of the ball returning. Mm-hmm. What does this do for us?
Well, you return a lot of experience in 2012. The one thing about 2011 you have to understand is there was a lot of injuries. As you went down the stretch, it was almost every game there was someone being carved off, there was another injury, and it just started to pile up. At the last game of the season, we had about 1.5 running backs left, really, when you think about it, because of all the injuries we had throughout the season. But you got everybody back, healthy, so it's going to be exciting on offense. You return one of the most potent offenses in the Big 12, I believe, this season, with as much experience. As you look down throughout the offenses of the Big 12, the only offense I think that's going to become in here and be more potent is going to be West Virginia. They're going to return a lot of their stars. It's going to be a fun team to watch in the Big 12. TCU is going to bring a lot as well, but Texas Tech's going to be right there. It's going to be the question of how do you balance the passing attack and how do you balance the running attack, because you do return Eric Stevens this season. You do return Kenny Williams, DeAndre Washington. Sadell Foster's coming this year as an athlete. He'll be someone that'll figure in as well at some point this season, either on kick returns or in the running game. So it's an exciting year for Texas Tech football, because for the first time since Tommy Tuberville got here, he's going to have to make some decisions on the depth chart this week of who's going to play, who's not going to play, and who's going to get redshirted.
Indeed. Okay, now, we had Eric Ward last year with 11 touchdowns in the season, just going off the charts, 800 yards. He's on the Blitnikoff watch list for this year. Do you think that he'll lead in receiving for Texas Tech? Or, they're just so deep. What do you think?
Eric Ward, I talked to him at Big 12 Media Days, and he said his goal this season is to break 1,000 yards receiving.
It's a good goal.
And he's going to do it. There's no question he's going to do it. He had a coming-out party against Baylor last season in their final game of the season, and he's just gotten better. He's had kind of a rough week or so in fall camp. He's been sick. He's been battling back, but it's like Tuberville said after one of the practices, we know what Ward's going to give us. It's the other guys we got to look at, because at the wide receiver position, there's so much depth there this season. You add Javon Bell. Javon Bell, wearing number 1 this season, he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to watch for on the field, because number 1, he can jump like Darren Moore. He has speed. He's going to be a fun guy to watch. And then also, you got Darren Moore back. He had a slight groin pull the other day during practice. He's been working through that. He'll be fine. But, you get Darren Moore back, Eric Ward, Alex Torres, Javon Bell, and you just keep adding to that mix. And it's going to be a fun group of wide receivers to watch. I think one wide receiver you're not going to see a lot of this season is going to be Marcus Kennard,
really,
who wears number 88. He's been really struggling throughout the fall. He has not come to his own. He was in a scrimmage the other day for Texas Tech, just was missing passes, couldn't catch the ball very well, couldn't run the routes well for Texas Tech. But Tech is going to have a great core of wide receivers, and if someone goes down, if someone gets hurt, there's another guy right there that's going to step up for the Red Raiders.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about, I'm most interested about this aspect, the tight end. You have, literally the first true tight end Texas Tech has ever had in the last maybe 10 or 11 years in Jace Amaro. 6'4", 250, 260, what have you. Tuberville sings praises about this guy. Do you think he can live up to Tuberville's expectations this year?
He's not only going to live up to Tuberville's expectations, he's going to exceed them, because Jason Morrow is that big guy that is going to be right there out in front of Day. He's going to be part of his checkdowns. He's going to come out right in the middle, an easy target to hit. The guy is huge. He's 6'4", over 200 pounds. So he's a big guy. Number 1, he's going to catch the ball, and then he's going to run some people over en route to the end zone, because he's just that big. Where I see Jason Morrow figuring in the most is going to be in the red zone, 20 yards in. You look at Andrew Luck and what he did at Stanford and his tight end and how well they work together in the red zone. I see Seth Diggy and Jason Morrow kind of working like that in the red zone this year for Texas Tech. He's so big, he's agile, he can catch the ball, and he's going to figure in. The tight end has kind of gotten out of college football, but now you're starting to see it kind of come back. You see it coming back in the NFL, You look at the New England Patriots, Rob Gronkowski. You look at the New Orleans Saints, you got Jimmy Graham.
That's right.
And so, the tight end is back. Now the question is, how many college football teams are going to be ready for the tight end? And hey, Jason Morrow's a big guy. Who are you going to get to cover him? Are you going to put one of your better corners on Jason Morrow, or are you going to put one of your better corners on, say, Darren Moore or Eric Ward?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, now we're going to switch to the defensive side of the ball, which finished, I think it was 114th in the nation in total defensive categories. Very last in the Big 12 on rushing defense with, I think, more than 250 yards allowed per game. The only place to go from here is up, or can they worsen?
I don't think you can get any worse than they were. Well, yeah, you can. You can lose every game in 2012. That's how you can get worse.
Mm-hmm.
But
New Mexico.
they're not going to get worse in 2012. This is a team that's come in under Art Kaufman now. Art Kaufman has broken it down. Watching the drills in practice, when they were working on just tackling, they're working on wrapping people up. They're working on hitting harder. They're working on their speed. And this defense is faster. It's a faster defense. And the key to this defense in 2012 is going to be Will Smith. Will Smith moved from outside linebacker to middle linebacker 2 practices into the spring. That's where he stayed. He brings a lot of experience to the middle linebacker position, and Will Smith is going to be fun to watch. I have him on my list of players to watch in the Big 12. I think if he plays well enough, he'll end up on one of the Big 12 all-conference teams at the end of the season, and maybe even Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year if he has the season that I think he's going to have.
Wow. Sheesh. Now let's go to the cornerbacks. Now you have... he used to be the wide receiver last year, Cornelius Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have Terrence Bolt's moving up to linebacker. How does that figure out?
Well, Cornelius Douglas made the switch over in the middle of last season. He switched over from wide receiver to cornerback. And the problem is when you do that in the middle of the season, 1, you haven't worked with the defense all season long, and 2, you don't know the position as well. His first game, around when it was first few games, he had to cover Justin Blackman of Oklahoma State. That's just not fair for anyone.
Nope.
Even the most experienced cornerback in the country doesn't want to cover Justin Blackman in a game.
Mm-hmm.
So having to cover him gave him some experience in the game, but also kind of taught him what he has to do. And talking to him the other day, he's learned more about backpedaling, how to read the quarterback's eyes. And about being a quarterback, it's all about eyes. It's all about following the quarterback, following the wide receivers, and he's gotten a lot better. I think he's going to factor in huge this fall because he's had a whole spring, he's had a whole fall to work on the position. He's had time to work with Art Kaufman, and Kaufman's leaving him at the cornerback position for a reason. He's going to bring a lot of help to that position.
So much athleticism there, too.
Oh, yeah. And then
Hands down.
you look at Terrence Bullitt and what he can do as well, and Bullitt just brings a lot. And then another guy that's kind of flown on the radar is Bruce Jones. He's a guy that's excited me the last few practices because watching him, he's fast, and he's been disrupting a lot of passes. He has a few interceptions to his name in this spring or in this fall so far. And Jones is going to be fun to watch. He wears number 24 on the defensive side of the ball. So I think with the additions to the defense, with having a full spring and fall under Kaufman, and just how they've broken it down to the nuts and bolts of how to play defense and working in, the new packages, the new system that they're going to have here. It's like Kaufman said after the spring game, we're going to run a vanilla defense. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be plain. True. It's going to be easy to learn. It's not going to be something complex. It's going to be hard to learn. It's going to be something that they're going to have to learn quickly and get up to the ball because in the Big 12, a lot of teams run the NASCAR offense. They're going to have a lot of no huddle, and that was one problem for Tech the other day. The defense was not getting up to the line fast enough, so they're going to have to work on that because Daggy was standing there just pretty much running the offense, getting them back to the line, and the defense was still trying to run subs on and off the field. So something they're going to have to work on, but this defense is much, much better than last season. 4th
defensive coordinator in 4 years. Let's hope this one works out for Tech. How many wins does Tech have to obtain this year for Tommy Tuberville to keep his job, in your opinion?
Well, 5 wins isn't going to do it. I guarantee that he'll be out the door and have his stuff already packed before that even gets to the news. But it'll take at least 7 wins. I think 8 wins, he's for sure staying. 9 wins, hey, you know what? 10 wins, everyone in Lubbock's going to have a Tommy Tuberville shirt. I guarantee it. The thing about this season is this is going to be a season it is a breaking point for Tommy Tuberville and his staff. It takes time to build a football program. It takes time to bring in recruits. But he's had a few recruiting classes now. He's got his players he wants in here.
That is true. With that being said, let's see. How do you think we'll finish this year?
I think Tech will finish probably with 8 wins. I can see the Red Raiders finishing with 8 wins. I think some people have said 6 wins. I know in Dave Campbell's magazine they predicted Texas Tech to finish 6-6. And I think it's kind of after a 5-7 season, you kind of want to put them at 500, see what they're going to do. But yeah, I think 8-4 is definitely a number Texas Tech can hit. I wouldn't be surprised if they hit 9. I wouldn't be surprised if they hit 10. But this is an offense that is going to run. It's going to do a lot of good things. But you can guarantee that Texas Tech's going to start 3-0 to the season because there's no competition. There's no competition at all in your first 3 games. None at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to one-up you there. I'm going to go 9-3. See, look, I changed that.
I see you change that.
They are good for 1 or 2 upsets per year and 1 or 2 letdowns. But after last year, I mean, honestly, you can only go up from here. So I think 9-3 would be a solid thing. And I want to see them in the Alamo Bowl, you know. I want to go back to San Antonio and see that bowl game, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a great bowl game. It's become a prestigious bowl game, too. They're not just
really
putting anybody in that bowl game anymore. Last year at Baylor and Washington in that great shootout between those 2 teams. That just showed how bad their defenses were when the team scores 60 points on you. But hey, it's a bowl game. We're playing kind of for fun and whatever. But, you know, I look at your schedule there, and you had Oklahoma State as a loss. And I'm a little disappointed in you because Brandon Whedon and
it's
Justin
cold
Blackburn.
up there.
In Stillwater, Oklahoma,
so
it's cold. Okay, I mean, I'll give it. But they're getting a new identity this year with their new quarterbacks.
True freshman, right?
Yeah, the true freshman quarterback is going to start for Oklahoma State. But it's going to be an interesting year. I think what Tech needs to avoid this season, number one thing for the Red Raiders to avoid is a losing streak of any kind. Because if a losing streak starts, 1 game, not bad. 2 games, okay, we're getting a little worried. 3 games, 4 games, then we're going to start saying, okay, this is looking like last season. This is looking like the slide we had last season. Because, you know, at the time of when we beat Oklahoma last year, all we needed was 1 more win to go to a bowl game. You thought, 1 more win. Get Iowa State, you know, someone down the way. But lose 5 in a row, and then you're out of the bowl game.
So you remember last year when we were on the midseason football report, if y'all remember as well, there was no doubt in our mind that they would make a bowl game.
I mean, injuries, I think the defense kind of gave up. I think there was a little bit of a loss in the locker room between the defensive coach and the players as well. So, you know, but they're back this year. They have a chip on their shoulder, and they're ready to go for the 2012 season. I expect great things from the Red Raiders this year, and I think only ways to go is up. It's the first time in, you know, forever that we haven't gone to a bowl game. You can see that on the Tech football trailer of all the bowl games we've been to, 10 straight before last season. But, you know, sometimes you have to have a down year to kind of remind you, bring you down off cloud 9, and then start rising up again. And I wouldn't be surprised this season if everything falls into place for Texas Tech. Would not surprise me at all that they would contend with Oklahoma for the Big 12 championship. So I think it'll be between Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Tech. For everything they're bringing back, for all the players they're bringing back, the staffs they're bringing back, those are my favorites in the Big 12 this year. You know, granted, yes, Texas Tech is the reason, you know, we cover them and stuff like that. We see the team every day. You know, we don't know what's going to happen against other teams, but we'll see what happens in 2012.
Well, we will certainly hope for the best. From all of us here to you, we will see you later. We'll have coverage September the 1st against Northwestern State.